this video, we're going to talk about 6 different skills that you can learn very, very easily, sometimes in a matter of hours, on the upper end, maybe a week or two. But all of these are skills that you can turn into a nice side business or even a full-time one that tons of businesses out there desperately need and are willing to pay big bucks for. So again, you can make a lot of money without having to go to college or spend tons and tons of money. It's all stuff that you can learn for free on YouTube or on other courses and places online, relatively cheap or free, again, very, very quickly. And the first one of those is ad management. Now, I know a lot of you are probably like, whoa, that's super scary. I've never run ads for other people. I don't want to jump into that, blah, blah. Again, it's not scary. You can learn this literally in like a day's time, especially in like a week if you watch just like a couple of videos a day on YouTube and such. And the reason why this is super, super important is now, especially compared to years ago, a lot of the businesses out there realize that, hey, if you take an ad out in the phone book, you're probably not going to get a lot of traction. There's still a lot of places that do that, but I mean, when's the last time you opened a phone book? Okay? Compared to when's the last time you went to Google to search up, the name of the business or the name of a place that, you need to buy a product from. And if you're not advertising on places like Google, YouTube, Facebook, so on and so forth, as a business, you're probably leaving a lot of money on the table. Having said that, even though these things aren't necessarily super hard to do, a lot of business owners either don't want to take the time to do them, or they're too fearful that they'll mess up stuff, or they just don't know how. They just rather pay someone to do that stuff for them. And this doesn't have to be some super complicated stuff, but it's all stuff that, again, if you just watch a couple of videos on how to run AdWords or how to run YouTube ads or how to run Facebook ads, literally within a matter of like a week, you could be an expert on that in the eyes of a lot of these people right there. And now that's not necessarily to say like, hey, you'll be the top expert in the world, make millions of dollars, blah, blah, blah. No. But I mean, if you're like a mom and pop business, let's say you're a roof replacement business, looking for basically people who want to get quotes on a roof. That's a fairly easy thing to run a campaign for on like AdWords and such, where you don't have to be the top expert in the world to do that. If you just have a little bit of knowledge, you can get a lot of sales off that. You can do quite well. You can set up this kind of business relatively easily, where even if they're paying like $500 or $1,000 a month, that's not a bad start right there. And if they get a single sale, in some cases, that can be worth basically $10,000 or more. In some cases, even worth basically tens of thousands of dollars. And we've seen, on the AdWords end and the YouTube and Facebook end and all that right there, we've seen guys that we've actually hired ourselves that literally charge, $5,000, in some cases more, per month to basically do stuff that we know we could do ourselves. It's not necessarily hard. We just don't want to take the time to do all of it. We've even had stuff where we've run that stuff ourselves and we'll still hire a guy in that price range to just kind of do the very stuff that we just did, just to save us a little bit of time. I've known guys that have gotten paid even more than that right there. But I mean, even if you start $500 a month range for a very easy guy, that adds up really fast. And then basically going from a $500 a month client to a $5,000 a month client really isn't all that hard once you get just a little experience under your belt. And again, if you spend a week where you're watching a video or two a day or reading a book up on it, it's not hard to really be an expert in that and start to get some clients and start to advertise on places like Upwork and stuff, or even reach out to a handful of businesses once they know that, hey, you have a little experience here, or you know what you're doing. There's a lot of people that have a need for that right there. And again, it's not that hard to go from like $500 a month to $5,000 a month per client, even if it's only taking you, let's say, a couple hours a week per guy right there. So that's one that's in a huge demand right there that I think doesn't really have a big, high barrier of entry where you could make more than a PhD student in only like a week or two of training right there. And that actually brings me to the second one, which is related but not quite the same thing, which is social media management, which probably requires even less training. That's where, you manage a business's social media like Facebook, Instagram, all those right there, Twitter, where you're literally just basically doing, whether it be weekly or daily posts for them, whether it be responding to messages that they're getting on that. A lot of businesses know that, hey, I really should have a social media presence, but they don't necessarily want to take the time to run that themselves. They don't necessarily want to have the owner running that. that. They don't necessarily want to hire a full-time employee to manage that. So oftentimes they're looking to outsource that, where, hey, if you're like $1,000 a month to manage all that stuff, that's a steal of a deal for a smaller business. For a larger one, you could be looking substantially more, $5,000 or more a month to run all that right there. And they can get extra sales from you basically doing the daily posts and all that right there. And it's kind of thing where that's even easier than the ad management, because there's less technical stuff involved. There's less skills you have to necessarily learn. I mean, it's literally just posting on social media. And again, you can read a book on it. You can watch some YouTube courses on it, on how to be a social media manager, how to run social media on whatever platform. Literally, if you spend one day on, each of the major platforms, by the end of a week, you'd be an expert to run all of their social media and probably do quite well on that right there. And again, there's a huge demand for that. In fact, Sean, I believe you have a daughter that actually, I think she used to do social media management on the side, and I believe it actually turned into like a full-time gig, right?
Well, that's correct, Brian. So she actually was a social media manager. Her primary client was a guy named Marco. Marco was a best-selling author here in the U.S. He's a trainer and a nutritionist, and Beyonce and Jay-Z were his most famous clients. He had a lot of other famous clients, and she managed all of his social media promotions for the book, for what he was doing with Beyonce and Jay-Z, all kinds of stuff. So it was really fun adventure for her, and she got paid a lot of money to do it. And she moved on to doing other things that she wanted to, because she always wants to broaden herself, went on to do some other things for some other companies. But she also had done ad management for other companies as well. She's done a lot of independent work for different companies, really helping anything to do with promotion, because businesses are looking for ways to generate what? Visibility, traffic, leads, and sales. And most of them don't know how to do it themselves, or they don't have enough personnel or time to do everything themselves, and they're willing to outsource to someone who delivers any kind of result. So it's a huge, huge opportunity for people that are looking for something they can do. And again, whether you want to start full-time or start part-time and move to full-time, and it interests you, there are things you can do and get started out there. And another thing that I think fits along this line, Brian, that interests people, especially younger people. So old people like me, who grew up watching TV, didn't grow up with a phone in our hands, didn't grow up shooting video of everything, didn't grow up shooting selfies of themselves. But now here I am making videos with young guys like Brian, and that are up on YouTube and might be on TikTok and might be on Instagram or Facebook, right? So somebody needs to edit and manage those videos for us. Because first of all, we're not going to take the time to edit our own videos. We've got multi-million-dollar businesses to run, but we also don't have the skills to sit there and edit the videos and make them look cool and add intros and make graphics and do different things for those videos, as well as how to coordinate and cut snippets out of them and some different things that we might want to do to utilize the videos in a bunch of different ways. That makes an opportunity for someone to edit videos. Now, maybe you say, well, I don't know how to do that except on my phone, but you could learn very, very quickly how to edit videos. And the difference between you and somebody who doesn't want to take the time to learn, or someone that doesn't want to take the time to do it, is they're not going to do that, but they'll pay you to do that. And a lot of it is repeat business. We're making a lot of videos. The people that we're outsourcing our video editing to get a lot of business from us because they do a good job. They're very quick turnaround for us. So we're just simply are handing them a video. They do the edits. They give it back to us. Boom, it's done. We don't have to think about it. They know how we want it done. We've got all that worked out. That could be you, because it's not like we're the only people making videos to go up on YouTube or TikTok. There are a lot of people making a lot of videos, and many of them would like to have somebody else do all the work of editing and everything that you might look at that and go, well, that's simple. I could do that. Well, then you could, and turn this into a business that, again, can do as much of the work and as much volume as you want to go out and get. And a similar thing related to that, because of videos and graphics, are things about graphic work. And Brian's got some information on that.
Before I go on to that, I just want to say, in fact, my wife has much younger brothers that they actually, I think, I don't know if they're like 18 or 19. They actually didn't want to go to college because they kind of thought, hey, they kind of want to run their own business, and they kind of want to do some stuff in photography. And one actually kind of segued from photography into video editing. And he actually taught himself everything off of YouTube. I don't know if it was like a week or two, but it was relatively quickly. He basically taught himself the basics of some of like the main video editing editing software out there. He was starting to get local clients and stuff, and he was literally getting guys to basically pay him $500 to basically edit up some simple videos where he could basically do that in like an afternoon. So there's not a lot of jobs that I could think out there that you could learn the skills very, very quickly and easily and make, $500 in an afternoon. I mean, that's probably more than I'm sure all his friends would probably be making even with a PhD in college. I mean, there might be like a few out there that might make more than that, but certainly just goes to show you can easily basically teach yourself this if you truly want to, instead of thinking, oh man, I don't know anything about that. It doesn't matter. This stuff is not hard. Which actually brings me to the next one, which is any kind of graphics editing or making thumbnails or anything like that, which could even be like thumbnails for YouTube videos or stuff like that. Now you might say, oh man, I'm not a graphic guy, I don't know anything about it. There are actually like lots of tools out there now where you could learn the skills in a matter of like an hour. Like off the top of my head, sites like basically canva.com, which allows you to make and easily edit all sorts of graphics. You can pull like a bunch of graphics, you can put logos and text and stuff on top of that, and all sorts of really neat stuff where you don't have to be a pro editor. And even in a case like that, if you made a thumbnail, in some cases just basically taking an image and putting some text on it and making it look nice. I mean, you could learn that on a site like Canva and any number of editors out there in a matter of like a couple hours. Easy. I mean, you could probably learn like the basics in 15 minutes. The more advanced stuff might take like a couple or like a few hours or even if it's a couple days. So what? And you could have a little side gig where like, you're only making thumbnails or you're only doing logos or you're only doing, whatever it might be. Just do whatever the popular thing is right there. But there's a huge need, ton of work. And it's again, a skill that you can learn in a matter of hours there. So definitely don't overlook that. And the next one is SEO or search engine optimization, or trying to rank higher on the search engines like Google and Yahoo and such, or even on YouTube to rank higher on YouTube. It's kind of along the same things. And a lot of people say, well, I'm not a techie, I don't know anything about SEO. It's like, stop with that crap. It doesn't matter. You could learn that stuff very, very easily. You can be the most on-techie person out there and watch a video on how to do the basics of SEO, and within an hour, you'll be a decent expert. Within a few hours, you'll be a very good expert. Within a matter of days on that, you'd be a very, very, very good expert and know a lot more than the average guy would, and a lot more than even some that know just a bit about it. Because the basics of SEO aren't that hard. It's basically doing a little bit of keyword research, trying to target the right words in like the title of your pages, throughout the content on your site, which is another one. You could be a content creator. Kind of the same stuff right there. It's not that hard. In fact, there's a bunch of tools out there that can even help really automate a lot of that stuff. In fact, one of those, I'll actually put a link in the description below that can help basically automate a lot of the SEO, so you don't have to be an expert, you don't have to do a lot of tech stuff. It can do a lot of stuff for you right there, but it's the kind of thing that, again, clients are willing to pay you a lot of money to help them do that. I've seen guys on the low end pay thousands of dollars up front to help with some basics. I've seen ones even on the low end pay hundreds to thousands of dollars a month to continuously do SEO and help them rank for additional terms, help get additional content out there. And you don't even have to be the guy doing a lot of this work yourself. So with any of these, you can kind of also act as like the middleman. So if you want to hire guys off of Fiverr or basically Upwork and stuff like that, you can certainly do that and be like a middleman that will basically manage all that right there. Or you can even use software to help do a lot of the stuff right there. So again, you don't have to be like an expert that needs like years of schooling or instructions to really be good at any of this stuff, but it's huge markets where, again, a single client can be, in some cases, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. On some of the examples given, it can be a single client, even the thousands of dollars a month right there, where again, you only need a few of those to have a pretty nice full-time living income without having to work anywhere near full-time hours with that right there. So with that, Sean, I will go to you on the last one, which has to do with more of like basically programming or tech stuff without having to go to school for years and years and years and years. So Sean?
I think that one of the biggest skills, Brian, that's never going to go out of demand is coding. One of the things about being able to do stuff that people either, again, don't want to do themselves or don't even want to learn how to do, and that has to do with anything to do with programming or coding, but you don't have to necessarily go to school for a long time to learn how to do some basic thing. If you're willing to do that, there are clearly, both huge positions, both as freelance and working for a lot of companies, being able to do that. We employ full-time programmers, have for years. But a big opportunity is to do things that people need done, sometimes once, sometimes on a regular basis, but there's a lot of people that need them done, which is to set up basic things for people, like an opt-in page that captures email and connects to an autoresponder account. account, or to set up the list in the autoresponder account and be able to add in and turn it into a follow-up series of messages that somebody gives you to put in. Now, you could also write those messages. That's a whole nother business model, writing emails and content for people and doing copywriting. But in this case, it's just things that people don't know how to do. The average person doesn't get their Aweber or GetResponse or Entreport account and automatically know that, hey, I should plug this in. And every time someone joins my list, they should get all these follow-up messages. And if they get this message and they click here and they go to this, they should jump to this other one. And if they become a buyer, they should get added to this other list, right? Average person doesn't think about that, but you can learn how to do that in many cases simply by going through all the help files and training videos that are on the autoresponder services. And once you learn one, the rest of them are very, very similar. And the same thing with setting up an email capture page where someone is giving away a free gift if you join their list, or they're inviting you to join their list to get coupons from their restaurant or whatever. Somebody has to make that little connection between the website and the autoresponder. In the same way that people need somebody a lot of times to connect up a Zapier account. Zapier is a service that provides a bridge between software that provide different services. That you can look it up at zapier.com. Those guys have little snippets of code that do all kinds of stuff. And a lot of people don't even realize that it exists, but it's a super way to get pieces of software to talk to each other to load your data where you want it to go. Well, the average person doesn't know it exists, doesn't know how it works, but you can learn how it works and be able to connect up different programs for them and get paid to do it. And in many cases, it's going to take you like 2 minutes once you know how to do it, but they don't know how to do it, so they're paying you really good money. I mean, you might get paid $25 or $50 for what you've now learned to do in 2 minutes, but that's okay because you've saved them a day or two of their time trying to figure out how to do exactly what you can do in 2 minutes. Other things you can do, like you can set up webinars. Setting up webinars in GoToWebinar or other software where people need a webinar set up and be able to capture, then get people registered for it and all that kind of stuff. People don't know how to do that. They also know how to set them up on auto webinar platforms. There's a service there. Setting up blogs for people, or even doing an ongoing service where they're giving you content and you post on the blog. You might be watching our video on our blog. So they're very, very popular still. And a lot of companies use them and they need people to set them up, load up templates, edit the templates sometimes, add a lead capture form. You can see how all these things go together. The businesses need these services done. And they're willing to pay good money. They don't want to learn how to do it. A lot of them only need it once, but you have to understand there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of businesses that need this service every year. So it's not like, oh, there's one guy that needs a blog one time. No, there's a million guys that need a blog one time. So it's a whole business model.
And sometimes there's stuff where like a single business might need a task done like several times a month too. It goes both ways.
Right. So there's a lot of different ways that you could do what we're terming loosely coding, and do it in ways that allow you to provide a really good service for people that you can charge good money for, and you can learn how to do very quickly, sometimes in a day or less, from freely available information online without ever having to go to school, without ever having to be a real super smart tech person to begin with. But you can make good money on an ongoing basis working for these people and control your time, control your income, and have a great time doing it. We hope you've enjoyed all these 6 in-demand services that businesses want now and will continue to want for decades into the future. None of these are going away. These are not fads. These are what's going to be going on a long time in the future. And if you like this, certainly like the video, subscribe for more information. Keep watching our videos. We've got a lot of information about what we've been able to accomplish, good and bad, as we've sold more than $100 million online. We hope that you can learn from that and you'll take that and help yourself become much more successful in wherever your business takes you.